Hey guys, my name is Quintin, or as I'm more commonly known on this channel as Ceviche Q. Today we're doing something a little bit different than usual. I know we usually just stream some sort of card game or some sort of shooter or whatnot, but today we're doing something a little bit different. We're doing a design project that I've been working on for the last couple of months. If you're confused at all about like what's going on, or if you pop in late and you don't hear this introduction, I have a few commands that I've added to this stream. So just type in exclamation point and type in confused or exclamation point UX to give you a little insight as to what it is that is happening here. So my name is Quentin, like I mentioned. I'm a student at Santa Monica College. I hope to pursue a career in video game UX design. Um, I'm also a Diva one trick main. I've been playing the game Overwatch since it first released on consoles in 2016, but I've stopped playing it on PlayStation and now play it exclusively on PC. I've been taking kind of a break from playing it on PC because I just had some issues with communication. So I wanted to make this project focus mostly on communication. So, what is UX design? I tried to come up with like my best definition for what is UX design, and that's simply UX design is human based design. Its intention is to give the user the easiest and most delightful experience. UX designers are empathetic and try to understand the needs of their users. Um, but I also want people to recognize that UX design goes beyond, say, the digital realm. It also encapsulates physical things as well. So, what is it that we're hoping to accomplish today? We wanted to focus on the communication aspects of the game, and we're looking at three portions of communication. The first part would be the communication wheel. We want to adjust some changes to that. We want to add some new features to this communication wheel. And we also want to add some new improved community interactions. How we can measure success is players feel comfortable with communicating in their preferred interface. Players do not feel restricted by their ways of communication, and players are having fun and are winning the game. And I think that's the most important, that players want to win with these changes that we are implementing. So, how did we collect data for this project? Well, myself and a partner, Chris Moran, we composed a survey that we sent out to all these various sites, such as Reddit, Facebook, Twitter. We sent it to community discords, and we also just asked our friends word of mouth if they would do our survey. And our initial goal was to get like maybe 25 or 50 people to participate. And we actually ended up getting over 125 participants in our survey, which went above and beyond what I was anticipating this project was going to be in scope. So, unsurprisingly, for a lot of players, voice chat was the most common vehicle of communication, with about almost 90% of players saying that they use voice chat. But I think it's important to recognize that not as many players are utilizing other forms of communication, such as the comm wheel or text chat. And we also have some users that just do not communicate in games. And I think what we could strive for is maybe not having something so radical as saying, oh, we want 90% of players to use the comm wheel instead of voice chat. I think what we're aiming for is getting those people that are non communication users to maybe start easing themselves into, say, communication wheel or the text chat. We asked our users how important is this wheel to them, and a good high majority of our users, about 86% of them, gave it a score of 3 or higher, which signaled to me this is a very important tool that players can use. However, when we asked them how easy is it to use this communication wheel, we got sort of a mixed result, with 23% saying it was middle of the ground. So this to me also signaled just room for improvement. Now, the communication wheel is also highly customizable. You can change every one of those messages that we showed and highlighted. However, when we asked our players, do you modify the communication wheel? Over 80% said they do not. And less than 20% said yes. This was out of 114 users that we asked. And we wanted to send a follow up question as to why, if they do not change the communication wheel or customize it, do you know how to? And I think these three quotes are a good representation of the experience players go through when when it comes to changing the wheel. You get players that say like, no, I have no idea, or they're like, I have a generalized idea of what I need to do. And then you get players that just say like, no, I have no idea you can do that. So I created a little bit of a sitemap here to just give you a general idea of the process that goes into changing the communication wheel. You go into options and you're set, I believe you're defaulted to video, but then you have to go to controls. You have to scroll past if you want to change settings on all heroes or a specific hero, because the game is very highly customizable. And you have to scroll through one, two, three, four, five, six menus of customization before you get to the communication wheel. And if I was to show you this on a screen, all of these menus would take up the whole screen that you wouldn't even be able to see the communication wheel settings right off the bat. So I think this is a good example of just this information being buried really deep in other menus. So I think this is a good segue as to looking at what we want to change about the communication wheel. I think the main issue is that it's a little too cumbersome to change it. So I think some settings and changes that we could implement into the game would allow the player to change the wheel in the game. Now I know you can change the wheel in the game, but I think it should be an easier process that you could do within the wheel itself. Another option that we could do to maybe make this a little bit more useful would be offer some pre-built custom or pre-built communication templates. Saying hello to your teammates is maybe not as important as saying fall back or I'm with you. So certain things could be maybe changed around, and we could offer packages such as this is one that's geared for players that a competitive, or this one's just for having fun, because there's also fun communication lines and messages that you can send, but again, they're buried within menus in settings. And I think another change that we could also look to would be just giving players a tutorial onto how to adjust the wheel. Myself, when I was doing this research, I found a lot of YouTube videos of players explaining how to adjust the wheel. So I think there is a need for knowledge that could be easier to access in the game itself. So now, why do we care about this wheel so much? Why have I spent so much time on this wheel? Let's take a hypothetical. It's a big hypothetical situation. But let's say there's a team in Overwatch that consists of a player that speaks Spanish, Korean, French, Italian, and English. Now, when this team gets together, are they all going to be able to communicate with each other in voice? More than likely, no. Can they text or send messages through text that will be effective? Again, probably not. So we should look at the wheel as this language unifier. When you play this game in your choice of language, any messages that you receive through the communication wheel will be in your language. A hello, an English language user, will be a bonjour in the French player's game. So, again, we should look at this as a unifier between all these different languages that allows players to communicate with each other. And another reason why we care so much about this wheel is accessibility. I really like this quote that one of our users gave, and I'll just read it real quick. We should give more options to the communication wheel slash non communication, which is good for deaf or hard of hearing people, anyways. Accessibility is important, and accessibility is really important. Not every user of Overwatch has the same vocal capabilities, so utilizing the communication wheel is one of the ways that they can access the game and be able to play at these higher levels. So I gave an example, these two images above. On the left is the game put in colorblind mode settings, because a lot of the units are highlighted red when they're your enemies and blue when you're your teammates. Not everybody can see those colors, so Overwatch implemented some of these changes not long ago. And on the right is the Overwatch League that was highlighted by Blizzard. This person created a bunch of American Sign Language gestures for all the characters in Overwatch. So on the right, that they're signaling a sign for Mercy, the character. So I know that a company wants to implement accessibility, so making these adjustments to the communication wheel a step in that same direction. Players have the ability to mostly interact with map objectives and other players. So on the image on the left over here is what is currently in the game. You can tell the enemies like, hey, I want to attack the objective. And I also know that you can also look at a player and tell them that you're with them. Now, on the right, I just built a very crude example of what I think players want to see in the game. You open up your the com wheel, You point at an enemy. Comm wheel will then recognize that you want to communicate to your allies, enemy spotted over here, or in this case, sniper spotted. So it would be like Apex Legends, that it's very context sensitive and you don't have to do much. And I think also players want it to be customizable as well, where you could just map it to a key on your keyboard, where you could just, hey, click it when you spot an enemy, and it will communicate this to your allies. So let's get into the final section. If you've made it this far, thank you so much. Again, this is a design project that I'm doing about a case study on communication in Overwatch. So, why do we want to implement changes into an already successful game? I think these images kind of speak for themselves if you play the game. The top left image over here is what the game looked like when it first released with the roster. Now, if you look at the bottom, you'll see all these new heroes that just got added to the game. The game is always changing. It does not look the same as it did when it first launched. Designers and programmers are always implementing new ideas, new patches, and new ways to play the game. And then in the top right corner, it's an example of a poor experience for players. So on the top right is a system known as goats, which is highly defensive, utilizes three tank units and three support units. Usually, when you would watch this between like very high level skill cap players, matches could go on for hours because they were just ultra defensive and just sort of at a deadlock. A lot of players did not like this kind of system. It was kind of boring to watch. And so Blizzard implemented a new system where each team had to have two tank, two damage, and two support. So I think that's a good example of like why it is that we want to change the game. We want to make this always a better experience for you, the players. And so if I was to continue this project, what would I want to continue? I think an actual pinging prototype should be built. I think some further refinement in the survey that I created should go into place. And again, revisiting interviewing people in person. And again, going into digging deeper about community building and unity. So all I can say is GG and thank you for watching.